Good evening. We're coming to you on Sunday for the week ahead, Sunday the 23rd of 1st, after a pretty violent couple of weeks in the markets. We're going to go through the charts that we put on our weekly traders community. We're starting off with the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar on this episode. So let's look at the Aussie really quickly. So we can see that after the sell at the start or the middle of 2020, we've had quite a nice correction. We can see the first wave up, second wave down. As you can see on our weekly report, how we've marked this, and I'll share that with you really quickly here, so you know what we're talking about. So just go to traderscommunity.com, and I'll put the notes in this at the end. But just to share that really quickly. So here's our overall. We've labeled that as a wave 5 down the bottom, and we come up here. The question is it 5 of a 1 or C of an A? And that determines what we're doing right now. So is this a correcting this or not? Remember, so the important thing is with KnovaWave is you want to get rid of your psychology biases. So we're just really looking at Elliot Wave to get what the herd's doing. So we keep it real simple: 5 up, 3 correct. Okay, and so then we move on to our Murrey Math and our Ichimoku and the patterns we're looking at. So as you can see here, and so you go back to this as a reference. So it's still correcting from this psychological level at 80, and the optionality up there was huge, and obviously all the cross currents there all came in with the Aussie Kiwi and the Aussie yen. Remember, if you're trading the Aussie, the yen and the Kiwi are two big interlopers in that cross rates. So we had that correction here. We then came down off the Omicron. We corrected in a perfect 3. You can see that we've come down sharply in 1, and we're correcting that. So let's move back on to the live charts here. So that's what we're looking at here from that bottom, and this is what we're correcting here. Okay, let's sharpen it down to a daily chart and see what we get. So on daily, you can see this pattern's been a long sideways move, and we're sitting right in this cloud and right between 5/8 and 6/8. Remember our 0.8 and minus 2/8 was those bottoms we saw down on the weekly. Okay, and we can see that was a perfect sell. Even on daily, that's between 8/8 and 1/8. So we're correcting all this here. If we were to do a few lines here, we have our uptrend. Very perfect, isn't it? And if we're to make a copy of that, or let's hang on one sec here. Where are we? I'm still getting used to this platform, so forgive me for that. But we're going to just do another line. Might be the easier way to do this. I was actually looking for the parallel channel. There we are. That's exactly what I was looking. Nice, huh? So we're very much in this until proven otherwise, right? So we're looking at the channel here, and we can see what's going on. We know where we are on Murrey Math, so we want to have our mathematical probabilities of all this. We then move on. We look at the optionality. What are the strikes? So whatever we're trading, keep it all simple. Okay, let's break that down to 4 hours. And again, you can see the big channel that we got, right? And again, see the oversold down here at the base. We came up nicely. Just keep it all very simple. 4/8 to 1/8. So you know that's 3/8. And we've come back 2/8. And we're spinning around this channel. Okay. And this is, think of all the cross currents that are going on. So you want to look from the outside. You got the RBA with interest rates. You got commodities. You've obviously got all the geopolitical things going on with China. So combine that and use a little bit of your experience. You can see what one thing that stands out to me, and hopefully it stands out to you, is we have this in play. Do you see what just broke this week? So we have a potential head and shoulders here, left, head, right, right? So we break down. If that's the case, we come down into our 1/8 and down to that channel line right here would be great support. We wouldn't get bullish on this till we can recapture this cloud and get back in there. But ideally, that's what we're looking at. You see your support across the board there. And we continue, we can break this all the way down to shorter time frames. And then you can see the channel very clear there. Okay. So we keep an eye on this. And the reason we look at waves is we want to look at basically 3 waves. The third wave and the C wave are your most powerful. You're looking at completive versus impulse, right? Particularly in the market right now. So this is a risk on and a risk on asset, particularly Aussie yen, if you want to look at that. Okay, so let's move on to the Kiwi. And if there's any questions, just hit us up. If we'd move on to the New Zealand dollar, so it mirrors a lot of the Aussie. Okay, so before we move on to that, you can see the distinct difference here, right? Let me just move that up a bit for you. Whoa. So you can see we have that more distinct channel. It's more downtrend. In other words, the Aussie's been gaining against the Kiwi somewhat. Remember, this is a week we use our basis. Here it's a little bit different, 2 versus 3. And we have this correcting, okay? Okay, let's go back to where we are and let's put in the Kiwi here. And so here's the Kiwi on the hourly. So you can see that's just, we hit that top up here, just short of 6/8. We broke these trend lines and we've just powered down. So you can see that is a weaker version, and a lot to do with that's the commodities, to do with the lockdown of the economy with COVID. New Zealand's been, as you know, very draconian. Australia's depending on the states. And it's all become a political mess because you're having an election coming up in Australia very soon. So be careful what you read on mainstream media, particularly social media, with all that. So that's why charts are very helpful. You can see this channel that came, and this is an hourly. We're actually going to work backwards on this one for a couple of reasons, but I want to show you. So we broke this channel right here, right? And then this offered no support, but you can see down here that when we tested this, we did get some recompense. And we're still just going into the oversold area now. So again, this is very much a risk asset. You would need to break this double top, even though that's over the cloud, to get excited. If we work backwards, let's go to the 4 hours. And even more specifically, you can see that breakdown. It really stood up there. So remember, this is a lot thinner than the Aussie and some of the other currencies you may be used to. So that just a clear break there. So it just shows you how important these break levels are. You got to be wary, and it depends on the pattern. You got that little head and shoulders we saw in the Aussie, left, head, right. And you saw that test of the cloud. That was perfect, that twist. And then we broke there. You got a kiss of death forming right here, which gave you from 67.70. So that's like 70 pips, sorry. Wrong market. You can see I'm mainly a futures person. So if we come to the daily chart, well, let me bring this down for you. You can see more consistently what's been going on there, right? So let's go to the, where was it? As I said, I'm still getting a little bit new to this platform. So here's our downtrend. And here is, so we could actually take this one the key rule in finding a trend is find the most that join up, right? Because you want to see where most action is. You get a lot of false breaks, a lot of gammas and stuff like that, getting settled, particularly in currencies. You have a lot of DNTs and things like that. So we're coming again down to the bottom of this channel. So this is getting very oversold. So unless we have that end of the world scenario that we're seeing all over the place with the Uber bears and Fed just losing control, etc., on the overall stock markets and bond markets, that'll obviously filter through to the risk assets. So that's why we started off with these markets here. And particularly, we're very much at KnovaWave and Trust Community, very commodity futures orientated. So this was, for those that stuck with that short here and reloaded off the channel, it's just working out wonderfully, isn't it? So keep it simple. You saw here off the median and the cloud retest, real simple stuff, okay? So we'll move that through to other markets. And now let's go to the weekly. Weekly. I wouldn't mind actually, and now you see that even better. So that's very nice, very clinical stuff. And so the key to Forex is where a lot of people fail is they get too much into leverage. So this sort of stuff chops you around, right? But so just what you want is to be always to take advantage of this, the oversought and the overbought, right? So this was minus 1.8. Look where it came from. That's so 0.8, and look at the fractal. And these get very silly, and you've seen with a lot of these collapses, if we go back to the 0.8 or the 15, spreads get very wide because liquidity gets very soft. So you've got to always worry about that, and that's why you don't go all in. So right now, initially, this was the break, and it looked like this was going to be the test. So it did a lot of work, but it was never able to get back over that Tenkan. So that's significant. So if it breaks through the downside here of this channel, it could just be working its way down, right? Then we would flip this into a median line and replicate this down here as your target. For your upside target, if this all holds, simply we stay in the channel, look at our cloud, and then move on from there. Let's have one more chart before we move on. So here's where we are monthly. So this is monthly over for since 94 actually. So you can see where we are in this situation. So this then becomes a reverse head and shoulders potentially, right? So and here's your cloud base. You can see when this really panic sells. The Aussie does the same, a lot of currencies, right? And that's a lot to do with commodities, fear, big banks manipulating, all this sort of stuff. Not manipulating intentionally. They might get stuck with a lot of debt. A lot of countries like Australia and New Zealand, a lot of their debt issues, they come also into play at this sort of level. But look at the positive divergence down here. I mean, this is a monthly chart, but you can see just a classic price versus volume. Okay, there. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to we'll move on to other currencies in our next segment. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you smash the like, smash the subscribe on YouTube there to follow us. You can follow us on Twitter at TradersCom or at KnovaWave. And visit us at traderscommunity.com. Everything's free, open to discussion. It's all about just helping everyone see through these markets through a bunch of experienced traders. Thank you for joining us.